Hello off the hook, hello YouTube, new video, new luck in the same freshness. Well folks, we're all getting Leminisi Goldswing in the next few days, and now the question is the hero worth building? And so on and so forth. I already introduced him, my skill kit, a few weeks ago now, and back then the opinion about this hero was rather mediocre, to put it mildly, that he's one of the weaker login heroes, and so on and so forth. And in this regard, today we're going to take a look at what Leminisi can do, and maybe what she can't, where she has a few weaknesses, but spoiler alert, I actually don't think she's that bad. Let me explain what I mean by that now. Let's first take a look at the base stats. You can see them in the background. Relevant for her, 99 base attack is okay, that's actually standard for an attack nuker, and 1520 base attack is also a standard value these days. The 1500 is normal. Anything above that, like 1600 and so on, is already considered good. So all in all, it's pretty standard. I don't really want to go over her skill kit in detail again right now. That would just take up time. Basically, what's relevant for me is her A3 is a block buffs debuff for you. And now we come to a point that's a bit of a downside for me. Because her A3 is a double hit, an AoE. She attacks all enemies, and each hit has a 75% chance to apply a heal reduction for 2 turns. When booked, it's a 100% chance for the heal reduction, and if you have books in her, it's still only 75% for the block buffs debuff. With the right mastery, you can push that up to 80%, but you still only ever have an 80% chance for the block buffs debuff, not 100%. And if we look at it the other way around, anyone who has an Ugo already has a 100% chance for this debuff with just an epic, plus Ugo also brings decreased defense. That's why it's not really great, but let's leave it at that for now, because for me personally, when it comes to the skill kit and so on, there's really only one question. We now have the Sylvan Watchers faction, and among the Sylvan Watchers, the number of damage dealers is actually quite limited. As an epic, we have Deity here, who can deal very good damage. We have Ilia, who can deal good damage. We have Lord Kaldor, who can deal really good damage. There might be something else coming soon as well. And otherwise, yes, damage dealers are a bit scarce here. You can build Austin a bit for damage too, but okay. And now the question arises, well, if the skill kit doesn't convince us with the shield negation, blah blah blah, all relatively uninteresting, does the damage at least work? And if the good lady can deal damage, I would say she's still usable or definitely worth using. And the nice thing is that with Lemini, they'll all get a level 5 Zeal, and a level 5 Zeal on a damage dealer makes a massive difference in damage output, no matter what content you want to use her in. That's what we're going to take a look at today. I've already built her, and we'll compare her in a moment with another hero for whom I also have a 5-star Zeal, one that everyone can earn in the Doom Tower by choice. To do that, we'll simply compare the stats, or rather, let's first take another close look at Leminisi in peace. I've built her with 6 pieces of Relentless gear. I know these aren't early game stats that you'll be able to reach, but they're not top tier end game stats either. As I said, 6 pieces of Merciless gear, and these are the stats we end up with. We have 6,400 attack, just under 230 speed, and 291 crit damage. She also has the appropriate accuracy, so that she can be used in Hydra as well, which I'll show you in detail in a moment. So these are my stats for Leminisi. On top of that, I've given her a crown. Of course, the crown is pretty much the best relic if you want to build her for damage and for longer fights. Every time she applies a debuff, her damage increases up to 30%. So after placing 30 debuffs, after that, she deals 30% more damage. That's why the crown is definitely the best, or at least one of the best, relics for all debuffers in PvE content. You could also use Cat's Eye now. For now, I've put the crown on her. As for blessings, I would definitely recommend that, since we all get a 5-star blessing that we can basically earn for free pretty easily. And for those who want to play her in PvE content, I would definitely suggest Wrath of Nature. Unfortunately, I can't show you the arena because it's a bit buggy on the test server right now. I don't have any opponents there at all. I can't find any opponents at the moment, so I can't show her to you in the arena, but we'll still take a look at the damage she can deal. I've also given her the following masteries. These are also the masteries I would typically give her. Very important. Down here is the Sniper mastery. As I said, Sniper increases the chance by another 5% to apply debuffs from abilities which brings you up to 80% instead of just 75%, making it a bit more reliable when it comes to the block buffs debuff. Other than that, these are classic masteries for a nuker and also a bit of a debuffer. Exactly, these are the stats we've achieved. 6,400 attack, 230 speed, 291 crit damage. And if we take a look at this with Val, you notice I do it just like in my Tordadin comparison. Here as well we have 6,400. He's almost exactly the same, or I think maybe 1 or 2 speed faster. And he also has nearly the same crit damage value. So basically, it's completely the same. He has the same blessing with the same stones in it. He's also booked. Leminisi is also booked. Same blessing and exactly the same masteries for this test. And anyone who knows or has seen a Valk will know that Valk can really hit hard. So Valk is definitely one of the better damage dealers in our game, especially in PvE content. And now let's see if Leminisi can keep up with that. For that, we'll head into Dragon, just a regular dungeon, and do a comparison. We'll start with both AoEs. For Valk, it's the A2, and for Leminisi, it's the A3. So let's go in, and now we'll turn off the run, because of course we don't want to attack with a debuff. Then with Valk, we're at 300,000. Okay, 300,000 from Valk's AoE with these stats. Let's do it again, so we don't just have one value, since Helm Smasher and such can always proc. 274,000. So you can say around 300,000. Okay, that's Valk's AoE. Now, let's just use Valk's A1, and now we'll do Leminisi's AoE. That's the A3. Yeah, now it's going to apply heal reduction and block debuffs selectively. And let's see how much that will be. Boom, boom. It's a double hit, and we ended up with 346,000. Okay, that's a bit more than with Valk. Okay, let's do it again so that, as I said, we have 2 runs or 2 solid values, so it's not just one. Boom, boom. And now we ended up with 306,000. So a bit better than Valk, I'd say. By the way, that's actually what the multipliers suggest as well. So I'm not using any aura at all, because we don't want to boost the aura. Of course, with Valk, we have to mention that Valk increases her attack value over the course of the fight. But for this test, we'll leave that out for now, at least here in the dungeon. Then let's take a look at the big smack. Yeah, we all know, many of you will know Valk's A3. Super strong attack that can hit really hard. And now let's take a look at that. Let's compare Valk's A3 with Leminisi's A2. To do that, let's go in those were exactly 100,000. 100,000 done. We can move right on. 100,000 from Valk. Oh. And Leminisi hits for 138,000. Whoops. Let's do it again. Was that just a Helm Smasher proc, or what happened there? 94,000 from Valk, Leminisi. Again, just about 100,000. In other words, as you can see, Leminisi's A2 is a very, very, very strong hit. So you really shouldn't underestimate that. The A2 can really, really, really hit hard. Now let's compare the A1S, the standard abilities of both. Vault comes in at 65,000, while Leminisi hits twice again. Yeah, that was more again as well. That was 70,000, just over 70,000, 76,000 compared to 65. So even there, it looks like Leminisi is keeping up with Valk, or at least coming close. 37,000, and that was about 47,000. So again, the point goes to Leminisi. It should be noted that the multipliers for both of their A1S are basically identical. Let's do the A3 again, because that really surprises me a bit. Valk's A3, 115,000. Leminisi's A2. Yeah, look at that, that's more. Okay, not bad. As I said, you have to keep in mind that Valk also increases his attack, so the A2 or A3 will get even stronger in a longer fight, but still, that's really not bad at all. And now, if we go in and put together something fun, because I think a lot of people underestimate what kind of cool things you can build, especially if you have a 5-star soul. If you want to build her now in a Shogun team, in a Sand Devil team, whatever it works, guys, I'll show you in a moment with the stats we have here. Of course, as I said, guys, the team around her, we still have the protection set on and so on. We have Rio in 9 pieces of Relentless. Honestly, all of that adds up, but you're still able to build a team with her, for example, like we're about to do here for the Shogun, which I think is pretty cool. So now we have Rio with us, who buffs us a bit, debuffs a bit. And then we have a group attack as well, actually. It's just the attack booster for Leminisi, because unfortunately, that's a bit of a downgrade at least. She doesn't give herself the attack boost. That means you'll need a separate attack booster in your team. Unfortunately, That's a bit out of fashion these days because Thor buffs himself, Tolian buffs himself, Theox buffs himself, and so on and so forth. Those are all heroes who buff themselves, so you don't need an attack booster for them. Unfortunately, she does need it. But nonetheless, let's take another look at the stats, as I just showed you. And normally, if you wanted to use her for this purpose here, I would already recommend a Crushing Rend at 5 stars, because that would allow you to ignore a bit more defense. But for now, we'll still put a tour on and see what happens. 480, 530. That's pretty strong. Actually, that's very, very strong. That probably means the run is already over. Yeah. So it's actually not that bad because we're back in the range I mentioned before. If you have 5 stars, a 5-star blessing on a pure damage dealer, which is really how I would classify her, the A3 blocks buffs, you can still use that situationally. Yeah, that can be really, really helpful. But honestly, her damage output really isn't that bad. We can do the same thing with the Sand Devil. If you go into the Sand Devil with the following team now, don't dig too deep into it. I just want to show that she can really deal solid damage. As I said, guys, 9 pieces of Feral on Riodat really boosts the damage even more. Now let's take a look. Theox really isn't built any worse than Leminisi. Let's compare the stats. Theox, 1, 120, 125, 103. There was more again. Okay, of course Theox is also boosting his attack stat. Again, you have to take all of that into account. Now let's take a look at Leminisi's A2. How much are we taking off here? Yeah, 330, 270. That's actually solid. And this will probably be a successful run, yeah. Theox is already doing a bit more now because there are more debuffs on, 230k. So you can really build something cool with her. You can see it. She's doing 1.344 million. She's doing more than Theox. That's not bad. That's actually not bad. She can't farm campaign solo because she's just missing several AoEs. Unfortunately, she only has 1 AoE every 3 turns, which makes the whole thing a bit of a problem. Nevertheless, let's go into the Hydra, where I also see her being very, very useful. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to test her there yet. Because on the day I made this video, unfortunately, yeah, it was the test server. Even on the test server, the Chimera has a reset, so we can't play. So that's why today it's just going to be a Hydra run. I think, especially against the Chimera with her A2, that could definitely work really, really well. I've put together the following team in the background. Voxwill, we've got Leminisi, Wall, Mikage, a Duchess, and a Lydia. And I'd say, let's just let the run go for 2 or 3 minutes and take a look at what happens here and how it happened. As you can see, if we pause here for a moment, this is the big problem I see with her. We have 2 heads. Where the block didn't land on, we resisted because we had a bit too little accuracy. And on the second one, she didn't even try to place it because 80% just isn't 100%. And that's really a bit of a problem with her. So especially if you're just starting out, I wouldn't rely on her blocks when it comes to the Hydra. Instead, I would definitely bring in a second hero who can handle that. That was Walls' A3 with 700,000. And that was Leminisi's A2 just now with, yeah, almost 700,000 or 800,000 as well. This really shows that if you build her purely for damage with a bit of accuracy so you can land the A3 when needed, she actually becomes a pretty solid damage dealer. I honestly can't put it any other way. That's just how it is. Here comes the AoE again. Now we've got blocks on the ones on the right. Of course, once again, not on the third one, where it would be most important, but oh well. We're still not going to cut here. We have to push through. Thankfully, my Voxwill has resistance. I also have to say, I think I'm planning to make a new guide for Voxwill soon because I just think Voxwill is such an insanely awesome hero now. He's really proven himself. All right, we've taken out the first head. We're on Nightmare difficulty, obviously. Boom, boom, boom. Here comes a bit of protection. Like I said, guys, don't get me wrong. We have a lot of protection sets in here. For example, Duchess Lilitu is in 9 pieces of protection. We have Voxwill, who is also in 9 pieces of protection. That really boosts the damage a lot, you know? You have to be clear about that. If you don't do that, you just won't get those big hits. On top of that, my area bonuses here are almost fully maxed out for the Hydra. But yeah, it's just part of the skill kit. Or rather, it's just the truth. So she can hit really hard, but of course, you have to set certain conditions again for these kinds of numbers to come out. Now let's go in with our hero so we have a direct comparison. Let's go ahead and use the A2. Or should we? Yeah, let's do it without weaken, without defense down. But we do have an attack booster. She does, right? Yeah, she does. Let's see. She has a lot of protected debuffs. That means the damage will naturally go up. 1.3, 1.3. Without a 6-star blessing, without weaken, without defense down, that's really not bad, guys. Let's check out Val's A3. I hope it crits. Yeah, 2.5. That was his main skill. So you see, it's actually, difference isn't that big. Of course, you have to say, if we take Val as a reference point, as a comparison, Val just brings more overall, because he applies an attack buff and a weaken. Those are overall somewhat more important debuffs, at least for the Hydra. With the Chimera though, it's a bit different again. Their block is very, very interesting and can, block the speed increase in the ultimate form, block the Viper form from stealing buffs, and so on and so forth. On top of that, a very, very hard-hitting A2. So with the Chimera, I definitely say she can work really well, because once again, she's a damage dealer with a 5-star blessing. Alright, let's wait until we've taken out a few more heads here. Boom, boom, boom. Val will be the first to get eaten. That's about to happen, I'd say. How many turns do we have left? Yeah, 1 round. Boom, he's gone. Let's see if Leminisi can bring him back pretty quickly. That's the A2. Boom, boom, and he's already back. A dream. So, unfortunately, we don't have Hex on the 3rd head. Otherwise, I'd hit the 3rd head now to get rid of it. Lydia's running in the cursed set for me. Boom, 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 boom. Damage reflect. She almost killed herself, but just almost. Yeah, then just take that one out first. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, now Def down and Weakener applied. Still no Hex. Unbelievable. Okay, now hopefully he'll go down. Yes, a dream. Of course, the longer the fight goes on, our Val actually killed himself because of damage reflect. The longer the fight goes on, the bigger the gap becomes between Leminisi and Val because of Val's passive. That's just part of the complete truth, really. Let's not use the A2 for now, because I genuinely want to see the A2 on the 3rd head. Once we actually have it, we will then certainly use it at that point. Oh, that's still in there too. Can we get blocks on? Of course not. Provoke. Alright, another boost for our Val as well. Now let's take out the 3rd head. We can go ahead and use the A3 now. Boom, boom. Heads down. Perfect. And now let's try to get, Def down debuff on. We won't do that just yet, because we really want to see the big hit. Yes, perfect. And now let's take a look. Let's really compare after a few minutes into the fight. Val's A3 with Leminisi's A2. We'll start with Leminisi. Let's see, how much do we do? 1.9, 2.6. Wow. Holy moly. That's not bad, guys. That's actually really good. Alright, now let's do Whale's A3. So that was 1.9, 2.6. Yeah, that was 4.4, just over 4 million. Now Val comes in with his A3, also 4 million. So you see, it's really not that bad. I don't want to hype her up now and say she's the best hero ever. That would be a bit exaggerated and a little too much of a good thing. But if we really take the standpoint of judging only her damage and set her skill kit aside for a moment, then she's actually a really good damage dealer. There's no other way to put it. In that sense, guys, I'm positively surprised, yeah. My initial reaction, based on her skill kit, since she doesn't really bring much to the table outside of her main skill, was that I wasn't all that hyped. And I think that was justified. But if we really take another look at her damage output, you can definitely make use of her. Especially because there's a very, very interesting 5-star blessing for her, right? Now we've landed the block perfect. And yeah, you can definitely build a solid team with her. Let's end the fight now and compare the damage value. As I said, in the long run, Seele would probably catch up a bit and gain some distance. But as you can see right now, Leminisi has dealt more damage than Seele. That's really impressive. Seele is one of the best damage dealers, not a max HP hitter, or not one of the top 5, but I definitely still rank him in the top 10. And that's quite remarkable. So folks, I think I'll leave it at that. If you need a good damage dealer and, well, if you need a pure strong damage dealer with a very powerful single target attacker, A2 really hits very hard and has excellent multipliers, you can definitely make good use of her. She'll definitely be a big help as a damage dealer in the faction ring as well. Especially in hard mode, she'll be helpful since she also brings a targeted blocker along with the heal reduction. One thing I mentioned last time that still bothers me a bit about her is that I'd actually prefer if she didn't apply the heal reduction at all, but instead only applied the blocker. That way, you could use her really well for the Poison Spitter cheese on Amios. But as it is, there are 2 debuffs again, and then he takes the first turn and switches forms the annoying Amios. So unfortunately, you can't use her as effectively there, but overall, I'm really positively surprised by her damage output. With that said, leave your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.